To my left, we have Rory Renwick. Rory works on business development for sports, EMEA and Latin America at Accedo, which helps broadcasters, content owners and TV operators deliver video services by providing an end-to-end solution from conception and strategy through to delivery and post-launch optimization. Next to Rory is Oliver Parker. Oliver is Chief Commercial Officer at Blackbird, a browser-based editing and publishing platform for rapid access to video content for the creation of clips, highlights, and longer-form content to multiple devices. Next to Oliver is Jakob. Jakob is VP Worldwide Channel Sales at Wildmoka, a cloud-based digital media factory for the swift creation and publishing of clips, reels, and streaming live on social media and OTT platforms. And then on the end is Tobias Frohlich. Tobias is founder and managing director TeraVolt, which specializes in the development of forward-looking digital TV experiences, providing its clients with customized solutions from a product portfolio that includes applications in the areas of managed platforms, enhanced TV, personalized viewing experience, monetization, and OTT. So just to kick us off, to get us started, just to give everyone a little bit of an idea of the kinds of projects you're involved in, could you each just tell me the kind of clients you work with and just a very, very quick description of a recent project that you might have been involved in? So starting with you, please, Rory.
Thank you, George. Good afternoon, everyone. Very, very nice to be here and to meet you all. As George mentioned, I look after the sports vertical for Accedo. Accedo has been in the OTT space for circa 17 years. Traditionally, its sort of core expertise has been around servicing broadcast clients and telco clients and helping them deliver fantastic video experiences. But as the sort of OTT space has evolved over the last few years, we've seen more and more clients outside of those two traditional spheres, and see more and more clients wanting to develop direct-to-consumer opportunities, and in particular in the sports space. And we've had a lot of experience and success with the fitness space in particular, and also brands, but we're seeing a growing number of clients in the sports space as well.
Great, thank you. Oliver.
Yeah, hi everybody, Oliver Parker at Blackbird. So a bit of a different space to Rory. Essentially, Blackbird sits inside the production piece. So that means we work with traditional broadcast workflows, but on the OTT side, it's anybody from sports leagues, clubs like Arsenal, up through the NHL and NRL and people like that, through to the bigger service providers and broadcasters. Essentially, anybody who wants to make content and put it somewhere. That's where we can help. An example of a recent project for us that's relevant to this, I think, was a launch we did earlier in the year. I'm going to err on the side of caution and just say there were a big governing body, and what the number one thing I would say, if I could summarize what we do on projects like that, is ad efficiency. Because of the pure scale of a large OTT deployment, what we were doing specifically there was drastically reducing the amount of infrastructure, media movement, opening up and allowing access for global teams to get to content, to create and distribute, and obviously integrate into all of the rest of the infrastructure that sits around something like that as well. So yes, it's really about greasing the wheels and being as efficient as we can in that kind of deployment.
Great, thank you. And Jakob.
Yes, good afternoon. So if I look at our customers of Wildmoka, those are typically tier one customers, broadcasters, and that are either in sports or news. So people who do have content that has now a higher value than in 5 minutes from now or 10 minutes from now. So speed matters a lot for them. And looking at those customers like, Sky, NBC, Discovery, including the 14 Eurosports, and here in France, Canal Plus, Bein, and France Television. And especially French television is a good example that I would like to bring up as a recent project, because Roland Garros just ended. And France Television used actually Wildmoka to distribute all live feeds from all curates to their OTT platform with Wildmoka, and also use at the same time Wildmoka in order to create the highlights and the summaries and to push that to social media at the end. Thanks.
Thank you. Tobias.
Hi, my name is Tobias. I'm from TeraVolt. I'm co-founder and managing director, and we focus on the user and experience. Our claim is electrifying media, so we'd like to build kick-ass applications for people that love TV as much as we do. So for example, for the ZDF, it's one of the biggest broadcasters in Germany. We do their TV storefront on smart TVs, for example, and it should look like Netflix. But normally, classic VOD stores are a little more boring because they don't have the budget like Netflix. Or we do for Vodafone a kind of sports hub. So normally the sports channels on 576 and so on, and you don't find your content. And we build an application so you can really access and follow your content and you don't have to search it. It finds you as a customer. Or we do with the Deutsche Football League. Dominik showed the interactive feed. That's something we really work together with Deutsche Football League, and we develop interactive experiences, also for the OTT space.
So what would you say specifically are the challenges that you're helping those clients to solve? Is it the discoverability of that content and helping to keep people within a single experience? Is that...
In the previous session, we were lots talking about clips, a lot of clips, thousands of clips, and there are still media assets. And normally you don't know what's in the clip. You have a media asset and you have some text connected to that, but the video itself is a black box. And we are looking in the age right now where we need to know on more or less every frame what's in it and have context to it and present video not in a linear way but in a more interactive way. So the harder thing is really to create metadata. This is the most important thing, and this is where most of the customers that we work together with are struggling. That's what great is with the interactive feed, because all the events of a football game, there are thousands of events on a football game, are in parallel to the video, and you can create great use cases to that because you have the knowledge of any frame in the video.
And Jakob, Wildmoka, one of its main areas of focus is in helping to deliver that content in a fast, efficient manner, repurpose content as well. What would you say are the things that your clients are struggling with when it comes to implementing that?
Well, of course, they struggle with it before they are our customers. I hope afterwards no longer. The main reasons are that they come to us is because they want to access content from any source, and they want to deliver it to any digital destination, and they want to deliver it in any different format, because different destinations require different formats, as we have heard already today from Canal+. And then you also want to do that at scale and at speed. In order to do that, you need to be able to adapt to the exact requirements that this customer has, and that's exactly where we have the Digital Media Factory in order to give basically the production chain that this customer needs in order to reach their goals to produce the content at the best and fastest way possible.
Mm. And Oliver, I guess that speed and scalability must be key challenges for the clients that you deal with as well.
Yes, similar for us. I think I mentioned efficiency before. I can hammer that nail home. I think that can be anything. It can be about speed. It can be about sustainability. There's lots of factors to efficient solutions. But I would say in the OTT space for us, it's probably about universal access and use of tools the most. As an example, when we do work in traditional broadcast post-production, it's very much a defined function, right? It's a feature function use of an application, and there's going to be a specialist using it, and it's doing a particular task. When we get into the OTT world, because of the scale, that has to widen, right? And it's the same point. It all comes back to repurposing, reversioning content for different destinations. It's pretty obvious if you need 100 versions of something, you cannot do it 100 times. So for us, it's about the access to the content at the start of that, because we're a browser native tool. There's no media movement, there's no infrastructure, nothing like that. Anybody in the organization can create it. On the far side of that, it's about delivery, obviously, as well. We need to be able to deliver out to multiple destinations, multiple platforms, and so on. But I think the key bit for us is probably in the middle, because Blackbird is essentially, it's used a lot as a manual content creation tool for kind of high-end content. So you've got the ingest and you've got the delivery piece, but actually just as important is the user experience in the center of that. So having a single tool that can be contextualized for different roles within a business, different teams and different use cases, different types of content, whether it's just checking or chopping something, or whether it's creating something a little bit more creative. That's something that is an important thing for us, is making sure that the user side of it is spread across the business as well as the technical workflow, I think.
And what would you say are some of the common mistakes that you might come across when working with clients?
I would say that it surprises me how often customers are still siloed in that respect, actually. So we'll have a lot of conversations. You'll ask a question, and the answer is, you have to go and speak to the digital team, or you need to go and speak to the social team, or production, or whatever. And I think what would be great, and what kind of holds businesses back a little bit sometimes, is taking that view, because when you go into those silos, what you end up dealing with is people, and humans naturally stick with what they know to a degree, and they stay in their comfort zone, and you end up with multiple different viewpoints in multiple different silos, and that obviously leads to inefficiency. So I think for us, what I'd love to see is businesses taking a little more of a strategic view to what technologies can deliver, rather than a point solution or a workflow view within that.
Tobias, you were smiling when Oliver mentioned about being directed to different departments. Is that something which resonates with you?
I remember once being at a football club, and they had a press conference, and the social media and the fan TV department were discussing which of the part of the press conference shall be released on which platform, and they have doubled the team into the whole setup, so it's not very efficient.
Rory, if we just shift focus slightly to the area that you're mainly concerned with, which is at the OTT end of things. One of the points that came up during the last panel discussion was around the sort of number of OTT services that are out there and that are available. Can you give us a sense from your experience, who needs an OTT strategy?
I think what's exciting is that there is a lot of technology out there nowadays, and I think there's the technology nowadays to allow many more prospects to entertain the thought of having their own direct-to-consumer channel and strategy. And I think it's important for most sports organizations and entities to work through whether or not this is the right channel for them. We've developed a service that is a SaaS cloud-based format based on our experience of working with so many broadcasters and telcos over the last 17 years, which is making the opportunity for clients, it's making it a lot more cost effective. So I think it's the opportunity is definitely out there for more tier 2, tier 3 type sports clients who previously thought it was price prohibitive to entertain it. And when you look at it, it's obviously extremely important to get the buy-in internally with all the departments, because I think launching an OTT covers not just the media and digital teams, but also the commercial teams, is to be very clear on the objectives. There is definitely an opportunity to drive revenues. It's an extremely important asset. It's a huge opportunity to develop your relationship directly with your customers and develop further insights and to introduce new experiences. And I think that's a huge opportunity for sports organizations, is to develop that direct relationship with the clients and work through new experiences and to challenge the current business models that they've got of how they engage their customers. So I think it's an opportunity for a lot more sports entities to trial. And I think if they do launch it, if you do go ahead and launch it, I think it's really important to obviously to have everyone's buy-in, but to quickly evaluate it and to work. As I mentioned at the start, I think there's an awful lot of technology out there to enable you to launch a solution. It's important to choose not necessarily the cheapest solution, most cost-efficient solution to start off with, because I think there's a lot of people that can do that. It's about finding the right partner to support you to grow your business. And while you can't have the perfect roadmap when you launch your platform, it's to quickly put in place a cycle where you're able to evaluate the evolution of your platform and understand what's working and what's not, and it's to quickly to use that information to change the platform to suit it, to improve it, to evolve it, and treat it as a living opportunity between you and the client, and customer.
To what extent do you have to provide those customers, those organisations that you're working with? To what extent do you have to provide them with that strategic advice and that ongoing level of support in order to kind of assess?
Well, I think all of us are very conscious that so many things traditionally have been done in a silo, and I think it's really important that what you do around your OTT and the direct consumer, that it sits within the overall strategy of your business, so that ties in with your social strategy and all your other areas of your marketing campaigns, and then it's linked, and it's linked to your broadcast strategy as well, and to make sure that it complements it adds value, and that everyone feeds off each other. But ultimately, from a rights holder, from an owner point of view, here's an opportunity that you own. It's an asset that you can then control, and it's about feeding people back through to your platform so you can develop those relationships further with the customers. And so it's making sure that your social channels are up to speed and can interconnect with content and news and so forth, and use that in the best possible way to link that with your OTT strategy, and realize that your OTT it's a different environment from where your other customers watch on TV. It's a different aspect, it's a different experience, it's more interactive experience, and it's important to acknowledge those differences, as it is important to acknowledge that YouTube is a very valuable channel for a lot of clients, but to realize that YouTube is very, very different from having your own OTT platform as well. I mean, to give you an idea, I mentioned previously that we've worked with a client who they launched a platform with us over the last year, who only had a following on YouTube of 6,000 subscribers, which is not an enormous number of subscribers. But we sat down, we worked through the business case, and we took that as an ingredient and a consideration, and we were able to launch an OTT solution for them with this SaaS cloud-based solution, and they were able to turn it around into a revenue-generating solution very, very quickly within months. But it didn't impact what they were doing YouTube. And in fact, through the OTT platform, they were able to generate a far larger audience. So it was, it's about fitting it complementary with everyone else. And I think that's Yeah, that's very important.
Tobias, I wanted to ask you on that subject of providing sort of complementary services and where we push content to. How you strike that balance between providing content for mobile devices versus the big screen? Are you kind of primarily focused on the largest screen possible? How do you approach that?
Biggest screen possible.
Yeah?
Yes, definitely. I think there's a kind of misunderstanding in the industry because everybody is focusing on mobile exclusively because we have so much more viewing time on the mobile. And this is added to the viewing time on the big screen. And it's on a different time throughout the day. So all through the day we are on mobile, and in the evening we are still on the big telly. And this viewing time on the telly has increased as well. But we don't see that in the numbers because there are so many usage. There's so many usage on mobile. So in a way, we need to make sure that the customer who is on mobile throughout the day is primed with the use case that is existing in the evening and exactly knows what to do in the evening. Netflix is doing a brilliant job on that, and traditional broadcasters are struggling to do so. And you also need to make sure that the interactivity that you get on the mobile throughout the day, that is a kind of level of expectation that comes to the big screen. So we need to work on interactive experiences that work also on the big screen, on classic platforms. We need to work on personalized experiences on the big screen as well. It's easy to do them on the mobile, and you can do so, but in the end, TV is becoming an app, and you expect things from the TV. When my son sits in front of the TV and he sees that I'm navigating on the EPG, he's saying, what do you do? This is Excel, and there's no picture on it, and you click on it, and it's delivering nothing. You have to wait for the video that is running. What is that for a product? It's ridiculous. Go to TikTok, go to Netflix, and it's super easy. And for me, growing up with an EPG grid, I don't understand him, but if I really put me in his shoes, and he has never had such an experience, he always had Netflix and TikTok and mobile devices, he has a whole different level of expectation. And you can do EPG in an activity feed kind of style, and we do so with TeraVolt, with clients. But it's very hard, and you need to transform classic business models as well. There are players in the room, I guess. They think this is a horrifying idea, but the end customer will expect that the product, the TV, will work in that way, and we will see that in 5 to 10 years.
Jakob, if we look now at the creation of the content to serve some of those platforms, some of those destinations that Tobias has mentioned. So when it comes to creating the sort of near live clips or the fast turnaround content, speed is obviously absolutely vital, important. What are the things that might slow that process down? So are we talking, is it primarily a technology issue, or is this a workflow or people issue?
It's a combination of all of that. So maybe let's look at how a traditional, and I say really traditional, so probably most of you are beyond that stage now, a TV station would operate in order to repurpose content. So they would record all that content that comes in, then somebody would take it out and do the edition out of it, render it locally, and then upload it to the first social media network, then to Twitter as example, then to YouTube, and then again. And every time adding new metadata, new data to it. Obviously, if you look at that workflow, you will quickly see that the, I would say, creative process, meaning editing the video and adding the description and the hook, actually, that gives people, the hook to click on it. That is about 2 minutes out of a 10-minute process. So you have 8 minutes out of that process, which are basically lost by somebody who is highly qualified to do creative stuff, to just supervise workflows. And that's obviously non-efficient. And if you can give that time back to the people, first of all, they can do much more content. At the same time, it is also very important to deliver a tool or actually an environment that allows them to easily use it and to securely use it. So you won't, it's not for, well, not only for an editor which is trained and went through I don't know how many trainings in order to master that editing tool. It can be used by also a freelancer. It can be used by just a journalist who is more focused on getting it out fast and with the right message to the people. And then if you look even further into the OTT part of it, you will also see that it's very often the case that it's not just one OTT platform, there are multiple that needs to be catered. And if you can bring all of that together, that you have the control out of it without leaving the environment you are in order to accessing the content, to delivering the content, to add overlay graphics, and maybe also adapting to the different formats, then you have something that is highly efficient. And then you have actually solved a major problem that many of our customers have.
Oliver, we heard earlier about the popularity of some clips, how well they performed on social media. I just wondered if you had a view on what kind of quick turnaround content tends to perform best. So, you know, whether that's, I guess, the kind of behind the scenes type stuff that we heard about earlier. Is that what seems to do best in your view?
Well, I think that's one of the hardest questions for anyone to answer in the OTT world. And you know, slightly out of our area, to be honest. But I think you know, we have lots of customers for whom speed is the most important thing. And to be honest, it depends on who they are and what kind of content they're creating. So on the, you know, nobody wants to do anything slowly, but where we work with the smaller teams and leagues and federations, then the speed of what they're producing, often to social or to their own digital platforms or OTT as well, is more important because they're quite limited in what they can do. Okay, often the broadcast rights are somewhere else. They've got a small amount of content they can create. So getting stuff out fast is particularly important, you know, for anything that they can do that's peripheral to the live event or to the match. You know, most of those customers as well will try and capitalize on the content that the broadcasters don't have access to. So that's the, you know, the training room stuff, player access, all of the kind of backroom things. And you know, in those scenarios, I think it's more about quality than speed. But in terms of best performing, I think, you know, I'll leave that. You know, the data on that sits with the consumer side of it, right? The front end and the delivery mechanisms rather than the production piece. But I think one thing that we can do, and by we I don't mean Blackbird specifically, but I mean suppliers in general, over the next period of time, I won't specify one, is look at how we use data across the board. So, you know, Tobias was talking about the importance of it. We talk about data and metadata all the time, and it is everywhere, but I think it's still actually really localized. So, you know, there's loads of metadata that's used to find something in a content management tool. And there's metadata that we can use to speed up edit functions and things like that. There's metadata that can be used for auto-publishing of clips, some of the really smart stuff that Jakob's doing. There's metadata to do with distribution, but they're all kind of serving a purpose in one single place in the pipeline to a degree. And I think you know, what we probably need to look at as an industry over the next few years is how do we make the data way more integral to the whole process? Because you can see that somebody's watched something a lot of times. That doesn't mean it's your most valuable piece of content. And it also doesn't help you to see where it came from or how it was made or anything like that. So I think, you know, I don't have the answer to the question, but I think there's a lot we can do actually to start to help people, get that information out there.
I'm just conscious of the time, so just as a final question to each of you, where within your own particular areas, where do you see most innovation over the next year to 2 years? Starting with you, Rory, and then working our way along. So you've probably got about a minute each, I'd say.
For every client, that's what we really want to try and do, is to help them innovate, to grow, to evolve. And I think that's really important for the partnership that you want to develop. You want to give that client the flexibility to select and integrate and introduce new features and new experiences. For sure, data is always going to continue to be talked about and is extremely important, and to apply it comprehensively and to integrate that not just within the OTT but across all your marketing, and make sure that it's enabling and helping your whole structure to improve the customer journey and the experience. I think with innovation, it means so many different things to so many different people, but from our side with clients that we're talking to, traditionally you think about OTT being something that you view through your mobile or through your web, but more and more it's about platform expansion, giving people, especially with sport, the opportunity to watch it on the big screen and connecting it. So that platform expansion is something that's very relevant. I think more and more businesses are having to have an XR strategy because very, very soon Apple's going to be launching a headset, and I think when they launch something like that, it automatically brings it into the marketplace and gets people to view their XR opportunity in a slightly different light, and there's huge opportunity there, and it's about monetizing that as well and introducing new features that bring value that you can get the return on, you can do it cost effectively. But it's about trying new things, be it expansion on platforms, be it technology, XR and social watching, being improved data.
Yeah, so I answer that purely as a cloud technology provider, and I think we've got to see innovation across integration in the cloud. So when there's lots of benefits to somebody going and taking lots of cloud services, but they also relinquish control at the same time to a degree. So we've seen functionality go to the cloud and it works. I think we need to see that mature to become more efficient and to see some better integrations and data handoffs and things like that as well. So there's a lot of improvement, I think, that can be passed on to customers on that front.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the biggest innovation is actually not maybe adding some more artificial intelligence and so on. Of course, we do that. But I think the real innovation comes from being part of the whole workflow at our customers, where we can easily look at all the different incoming media and to relate that directly to the outgoing part, and to make really sure that it is the that is the most integrated part possible, so that's easy to use, and it's also easy to adapt if there are changes, and there will be changes in the future. It needs always be adaptable afterwards.
I see TV platforms as one of the most innovative drivers in our industry. They have the aggregation proposition. So they used to aggregate linear channels, and now they need to aggregate OTT service. Super complicated. Nobody knows how to do that because of the business models, but it needs to be done. So what you said, there will be consolidation. Is also consolidation of use cases. There need to be platforms that aggregate all those OTT services and then offering something. It's not clear how that will be done, but it will be done. It needs to be done. It's a necessity. And we will then see real personalized TV cases. And that's something I truly believe in. We see from from our football case that we produced with broadcasters, that we can increase consumption time by 35% in total. So people staying longer in the business case, you can monetize that. You can increase return on investment on that. And that's super attractive. And that's where the innovation is.
Great. Tobias, thank you very much. And thank you to the rest of the panel as well. Thank you.
Thank you.